Hey everyone, welcome back to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society of America. And I'm Ben. And as you can tell, because it says it there, and this is Scott,
I'm
because you can tell
Scott.
it's there too.
I'm Scott, if you don't know me.
Welcome. First of all, happy National Bourbon Day. Take it from the two Scotch Malt Whisky Society ambassadors here. It is National Bourbon Day, and what are we doing today? Well, as you can tell, we are tasting some bourbon. And first of all, thank you. I see a lot of familiar faces. If you're watching live right now, good to see you all. Welcome back. If you're watching the replay, good to see you. I guess maybe for the first time, maybe not. As the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, you probably all know, we bottle all sorts of amazing Scotch whiskey from Scottish distillers in Scotland. But I think in addition to that, over the last several years, we've been expanding beyond, I think, the reach of Scotland. And we've been really on a hunt for some amazing whiskeys produced all over the world. I say it's a few years, Scott. I mean, I'm trying to think. It was probably over a decade ago we first started bottling our first whiskey from America, Japan, and Ireland, but we're definitely seeing an influx of demand. What's your take right now on just American whiskey, bourbon in general? How do, as a whiskey lover yourself, where does that sit?
Well, I'm trying to think back, and it doesn't. I don't think the first bourbon. Do you think they were 10 years ago?
Yeah, at least
I would almost. You think
10
is that
plus.
long?
Yeah.
And we do. When I talk to members on the phone or people that call and they have questions and they want to know more about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and I tell them, we're 98%, 99%. We are, single malt Scotch whiskey, cask strength, single cask whiskeys. And then that other 1% is, we're branching out. We do bourbons, we do rums, we do Armagnacs. You'll see those, but we're the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. And I think me and you are kind of in the same boat here in America. We'd kind of like to see some more, American whiskeys and stuff come about. Brought into the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. We've got a lot of course, we've got a lot of bourbon drinkers that are members, here in the States, or even American single malt whiskey drinkers. But on the topic of bourbon, I've been drinking bourbon not as long as I started with Scotch, drinking Scotch, branched into bourbons. The bourbon boom, that started about 7 years ago. This bourbon boom really started, this interest, in America in bourbons, and it's just really taken off. There are some great bourbons out there, just like there are some great Scotches. It's finding those and being able to afford them in some cases, in today's market with bourbons. So that's a whole different story. But
no, but it's true. But it's a good point. Access to great bourbon is difficult, I think, at times. So, but I've also felt like, growing up in the Midwest, I was surrounded by bourbon, and I felt like I was, I don't know, more of an oddball as a malt whiskey lover, amongst this crowd. I've always enjoyed bourbon, but I really sort of taken it seriously a few, like 5 years ago, probably. I said, I'm going to give it an honest go. And then I really fell hard for bourbon. And it's funny because we don't really talk about it, you or I, other than to each other and social media. And, maybe you post more about bourbon and you review more on your own YouTube channel. I'm a little bit more quiet about my interests, but I live in Tennessee now. I've been here a couple of years, and it's like more ingrained in the culture. So I've been, honestly, I tend to dismiss my own knowledge of bourbon, but I've been to many, many distilleries in Kentucky. I've toured, met with distillers. I've kind of had a chance to kind of get behind the scenes a little bit, but it's always been sort of a secondary thing on my mind. And so I don't know. I don't claim to be like as knowledgeable about bourbon as I do malt whiskey, but I think as we go through this, I don't know. Maybe I'll share some thoughts. At the core, you and I think, are malt whiskey drinkers coming at this, and it sounds like we have our own familiarity with bourbon and our own interests and in our enjoyment. But so for everybody watching tonight, or if you're watching the replay tomorrow, we're coming at this sort of as Scotch whiskey drinkers, approaching some single barrel bourbons. How that translates, what the value is to you, I don't know, but it's fun. It's National Bourbon Day. We got 3 different bourbons from the same distillery. which we code out as distillery B7, with 3 different mash bills. So, yeah.
Well, and in relation to National Bourbon Day, which is why we're doing this stream, but we also have a nice little promotion going right now as well, that applies to all of the bourbons on the website. It's a 30% off promotion across the board on any of our bourbons. So,
which is cool because I think Scott, we were talking about like why we're here tonight. We finished up a stream like a couple months ago, and we're like, all right, it was so much fun. What do we do next? And I remember we were just, at least I was browsing through the shop. I'm like, what can we justify opening up and tasting? And I think this idea came from that. Like, boom, National Bourbon Days in the calendar. Let's do it then.
yeah.
I didn't realize there's gonna be a sale or anything. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
If you like what you hear, we'll go through all 3 of these. We'll share our honest thoughts on, just kind of our opinions of these 3 single barrel bourbons. We call them single cask because everything we call here is a single cask. And even on the label, it says from a single cask. Of course, they're all American standard barrels. So the term is more common. Anyway, we'll share our thoughts. And yeah, if any of them sound good to you, yes. I think in the caption below, we put the promo code. You can save 30% on the bottle if you'd like.
Yeah. So we'll start, or no, we were starting with, so with the 3 different mash bills, these are all, it's kind of a distillery dive that we did for these bourbons out of Indiana. This first one, though, that we're going to taste, so we've got a normal bourbon mash bill, we've got a high rye bourbon mash bill, and then we've got a wheated mash bill, which is what we're going to start with first. Usually your wheated mash bill bourbons, there's no rye in them. They'll replace the rye with wheat, and so what happens is you get a much more honeyed, sweeter bourbon, and not a spicy bourbon that would be caused from the rye in the mash bill. So this one, 51% corn, 45% wheat, and 4% malted barley, 56.9%. The price on the ticker is not the sale price. Take 30% off of that with the National Bourbon Day sale.
Yeah, this is interesting. So on each bottle, I don't know if you can see probably on mine, maybe on yours, you should, Scott. Each one actually does list the mash bill here. So it's in the tasting note section because we still have, like every bottle, we have the cask type, the region, the date of distillation. But in here in the description, it actually breaks out the mash bill: 51% corn, 45% wheat, 4% malted barley. Okay, let's get on this. I should also mention too, normally when we do these streams, I tend to open the bottles for the first time in the stream just for consistency and kind of give a first reaction. But on paper, I'm looking at these, I'm like, man, these are going to be some pretty blazing hot young bourbons and high strength. I've opened these about 30 minutes ago, poured the first time out, so they've been breathing. So hopefully we'll have something a bit more resemblant of what it's going to be like once you have a bottle. But I'm going to finish this welcome starter.
Yeah. Also, anybody, if you don't know, you're watching this, National Bourbon Day. Bourbon is made up from a mash bill. Has to be at least 51% corn. If it's under 51% corn, it can't be called bourbon. So the other remaining 49% can be more corn. It can be wheat. It can be barley. Other grains, but 51% corn has to be. So, and all these, you'll see at least 51% corn. This one, the lowest.
B7.1 C'est bon, which I believe is French for this is good.
Yep. Yeah, I think it is good. This is good. It is good.
American whiskey. Born in America, shipped overseas to Scotland, bottled in Scotland, named by presumably a Brit, in French.
Yeah.
Back to America, where it belongs. It's the global journey of this liquid in the glass here. Wow, this is really wild aroma.
It's a full nose for sure. I get a lot of cinnamon, honeyed cinnamon kind of. Almost a fresh piece of hot toast, and then you've melted some butter and some honey on it.
Wow.
Cinnamon.
Yeah, this is for me very, very just first time nosing this, very different from what I would expect from a wheated bourbon. There's like a very dominant note of like winter green or some not I don't want to say menthol, but something more like winter green or pine. This is so good. Oh, Seabone says this is so good.
Yeah, nice color on all these. Number 4 charred barrels, virgin oak for bourbon. Also another staple has to be aged in virgin, brand new charred oak barrels.
Wow, your focus was great on your camera. Wow, I've got mine on the eye track. Okay, yeah. Wow, it's like so seductive. No.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Mm.
To me, I love weeded. I think I tend to lean towards weeded bourbons. I love Maker's Mark, Weller, Larceny, those weeded bourbons. Yep. I like that sweeter side. This one to me is a great example of a weeded bourbon. And I can't confirm or deny if it's my favorite of the three because of that fact. But just a very nice, rich, warming, mouthfeel on this one. Honeyed, cinnamon, honeycomb, oak, caramel.
There's just this I mean, I mentioned like wintergreen or pine needles. There's like a mintiness to it. And maybe it's more like eucalyptus. Anyway, there's something going on. There's an herbaceous note that's very dominant, and that carried through to the palate. Palate was very, very mellow for a probably from the wheat, obviously the grain, sweeter grain. Again, we're kicking off. We'll go into the higher rye content or higher rye after this. But the starting very, very mellow on the palate for 58.9%. I'm going to add some water for sure and see how this changes. But
yeah, oh yeah,
it's more herbal than it is like the traditional, dollop of vanilla cream, char sort of notes, the classical bourbon notes that you would get, at least neat.
And herbal and almost kind of earthy as well, but just a little bit different wheat or just the kind of a dry herbal. I like just the herbal note there, but
almost like a tea, kind of like an Earl Grey tea or something. It's just wild. Okay. A little bit of water has definitely subdued that herbal note, the mintiness. Now it becomes warmer. There's more warming notes, like dollop of cream, definitely corn. Very, very light sort of wood smoke, obviously from the char, presumably. It's funny. I have to tell you, man. Like it's funny. We do these live streams, tasting malt whiskey. It's like we don't have to think. I don't have to think. I feel it's like second nature. Now, even bourbon. I don't know. Assessing bourbon in this format, this formality. I'm admitting it's like more of a challenge. Things I'm looking. I don't usually have the same like library in my head of things to search for. It's great. I love it. I love it. It's out of the comfort zone.
You're right. It is. It's trying to do that flavor wheel and find those other ones that you're not looking for.
Yeah.
But no, it's still to me those sweeter caramels, honeys, cinnamon, oak. I think I agree too. The water has definitely toned down kind of that herbal herbaceousness that was there.
I was saying, Scott and I were just talking before we went live, but I think when I'm at home and I pour a whiskey, if I poured say 10 times, if I pour 10 whiskeys 10 nights in a row, probably 9.75 of them would be a malt whiskey. But more like if I poured 100 whiskeys, 8 of them would be a bourbon. I'm just, again, this is a malt whiskey nerd over here. But I got to tell you, when you want a bourbon, malt whiskey can't satisfy like a bourbon can. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you want a peated whiskey, like a bourbon's not going to make up for the desire for a peated whiskey.
Yeah.
So I woke up today for some reason, probably knowing we were doing this evening and be able to dive into this. But I'm like, okay, it's summertime. I live in the South now. It's hot. This is just it. It feels right. So I'm digging it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's move down. Yeah, let's move down the line and see what else. And then I'd like to come back and revisit and kind of make a conclusion after all three.
All right. Now we'll go with our normal bourbon mash bill here. 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. So 75% corn, 20% rye. Going to start to get a little bit of that spiciness now. We should find no wheat in this one. So a lot of those honeyed sweetness notes should be gone. Start to get a little bit of that rye spice kick here. This one also, so B7.4 Myriad colors. This is a 5-year-old, so it's a year older. 61.1% ABV, and the price on there again is that's not including the sale. Currently 30% off. So with the code, it's in the description. Bourbon 2023.
Oh, immediately different in every sense of the word. I mean, these two couldn't be more different. This is a much warmer aroma, like cinnamon rolls, cornbread, a whole multitude of baked goods.
And this one's a little bit darker. That extra year in the cask even darkened this one up a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm looking at these, and not to get ahead, the next one will be older. This is probably the darkest of the three.
Little dusty pepper, little dusty oaky pepper, black pepper, little aromatic, perfumey, fudge. What'd you say? Baked cinnamon roll?
Yeah, and cornbread. But just the baked good content is high on this one. When I described the first one as more herbal, sort of cooler, the mintiness, this is more warming, more familiar though too, And to me, it's on the aroma, like not overly spicy in any way. Oh, just like I don't know, it's happy whiskey. That's how I describe it. 61.1%. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like my first time drinking a whiskey of 61%. I'm just saying, like, the aroma is so approachable.
I will tell you probably much like Scotch. I definitely prefer cask strength bourbons compared to, off the shelf bourbon offerings that are brought down to 45, 46%. But the cask strength just really helps preserve so much of the, whiskey character.
Mamuka 1977 says, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." Mamuka, good to see you. I can't remember what one stream that you showed up in, and we've had a couple of great guests. Mamuka, I don't remember why, but it's good to see you. We had the one that was Scott's #1 fan. Remember that one? What was her name? I don't know. She was like supporting everything you did, and I don't know if we had maybe it was during the blind the blind shootout, and she was like so on your side in your competition again. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh, when me and you,
when we did the head-to-head blind shootout, and like there was somebody who was like totally antagonizing me and he was like your #1 fan. That was a great one. Mamuka, I can't remember why I remember you, but I remember you. But no, we're not drinking MGP. We're drinking whiskey from that place. That place is as it's been known in the chat I've been watching. So anyway, what do you think of this on the palate?
Yeah, there's definitely, so Going from the weeded to this one, definitely more punch here, more spicy, more depth. And you was talking. I had a taste, and then I took a drink of water, so I got to get another one on my palate here.
Okay. Oh, it's so strong. Oh, this is wonderful. Oh,
yeah, more of the, I think the usual bourbon notes outside of the weeded realm, the brown sugars, the caramels, oak, root beer barrel candy.
Okay, so this is 75% corn. Sorry,
Yeah.
Scott. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I was just, before we started this, I don't want to overcomplicate the things, but I was starting up just to get my palate warmed up with a sip of B7.1 older release, the first barrel we bottled from this distillery. Same mash bill as this one, a year older, and I have to just say this one's miles ahead. This is like really, really good.
Yeah. I really have to say with the promotion going too, that these are some fantastic buys on the website.
Oh, okay. $88. I had to do the calculator to figure out 30% off. $88. Okay. All right, this one. Okay, I'm intrigued. I added some water. I'm going to go back. Ooh, this is strong.
Nice rich finish on this one. Hangs around, stays. Again, though, it's those nice rich bourbon notes that you look for. Those brown sugars, the caramels, root beer, barrel candy, a little bit of spice, cinnamon. It's all hanging on, clear into the back of the palate. Just a great finish on this one.
It's interesting, I will admit. Obviously, the society is based in Edinburgh. We're a Scottish company. It's interesting to see that Scott and I, as you probably could tell, are not Scottish. But it's interesting to read the tasting notes on the label here because they're unequivocally just British.
Yeah.
And I will share that a few years ago, was it 2019, right before the pandemic, I went out with our Ewan and Kai, our spirits team. Basically, we did a whole trip to Kentucky for a week and visited like 5 distilleries every day, and the whole point was to just establish partnerships with more Kentucky bourbon distillers. Anyway, it was, I had so much fun watching 2 Scots basically experience bourbon for the first time and describe it in a way. And so I'm appreciating like the tasting notes: red fruits and root beer, followed spiced Dundee marmalade. It's just like I'd never see people describe bourbon like in the way that these are.
Yeah, and if you go to the tasting notes, or the product page on the website as well, the tasting notes are rife with these are UK desserts, and all these different things that people don't know what they are.
But at the same token, like, think of every American who reviews a bottle of Scotch on the internet. Like, the way we describe Scotch is very American. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate the culture exchange here. That's we're experiencing. Anyway, I'm also going on a tangent.
Boo Ryan is saying, looking forward to a 3-pack getting delivered on Friday. Question: so will they automatically put in the SMWS glasses in your order for getting 3 bottles? Yeah, which is actually another promotion we have going as well.
Too many promotions
through Father's Day. Was if you order 3 bottles, you get 2 of our tasting glasses included. And yeah, they'll put them in your order. They should. Occasionally, they don't make it in your order. If you get your order with your 3 bottles and they're not in there, just call myself or Jenna. Will answer. We'll get you on the list to get the glasses shipped out to you. So, but they should be in your package.
Well, I will just say, I'm really into this one. Really into this one. I think I'm frankly surprised because this just goes to show how unique every barrel is. Because I just had the one just before we started the stream, just to sort of warm up my palate. Same mash bill, a year older actually. B7.1 Afternoon Treats. If you have that at home as a reference point, I think this one has such just so much more complexity and depth of flavor. It's like it's also a bit more nostalgic. Again, it is a more common mash bill, so it could be the fact that we start off with something that I would say is probably the most differentiated wheated bourbon I've ever had. Like it was very unfamiliar to me. This is like kind of strikes at all the emotions of classical bourbon. So,
Water opened that one up so much it's hotter. It feels so much hotter on my palate.
Really?
Yeah. Woo! Man, it is burning.
Really? I've added water twice. I had the opposite effect. Not to confuse everybody watching, but I'm sure that's what we do here.
No, it got better. It got better with water. It opened up, even became richer. I thought needed the finish on it just really set in and really just, woo, you could feel the heat on the taste buds. I could.
We should just tell everybody the truth. Scott just got back from Vegas a few hours ago. When did you get back from Vegas?
Yeah, about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, okay, that might be impacting your experience right now because I got to tell you, diluted this whiskey is not burning up. The water put out the fire in my
let's see. I did one round. Let me put a second round of water on it and see.
Yeah.
I was out there for a conference. I actually I gambled $20. I put $20 in a machine, and that was it. I'm not a big gambler, so I didn't win. I was like, that's good. I'm done. I got whiskey to buy. I mean, things like that. I don't need to.
Yeah, I'm not a gambler, but I love playing cards. So if I go to Vegas, I just if you can just sort of like stay neutral or stay even, you get and just sit there, have some drinks, free drinks usually if you're playing, and you gotta tip them. But I just enjoy playing, meeting people.
Okay, two rounds of water brought out the burn, but that first dash of water I put on it opened that sucker up.
To be frank, I put 3 dashes of water in this one.
Yeah,
like it was intense.
But it's still good. It's very velvety.
Yeah,
very smooth, sweet with spice. Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I have no interest in being shy here. I would say I strongly prefer this one. Period. Like I'm intrigued by this lineup here because now we're going to the high rye after this. But my conclusion, from this distillery, is that I prefer the rye to the wheat. Anyway, maybe it's a little premature to draw conclusions, but
all right.
I know it.
B7.7 Convivial Companion, 6-year-old, so we're a year older now. 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley, 56.7% ABV.
I love how your camera just it's like such a great feature.
Well, sometimes it gets a little picky though too, but
I have it on eye tracking, so it stays locked on your eye, which is supposed to be
yeah. So I've got to make sure I get the glass in front of me, and then it will.
It's like I feel like I'm watching a graphic novel film. All right. Anyway.
So now a high rye mash bill. We started with the wheated mash bill bourbon. We went to kind of a normal mash bill, and now a high rye. So less corn, more rye.
It's interesting though, but really a high rye has gone from 21% rye to 36%, and the corn's gone from 75% down to
60.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. Right. Obviously, if it's 51% rye or more, it's a rye whiskey, no longer a bourbon. So there's a limit of what a high rye is. What do you think? Well, let's go into this first. Oh, man,
what is that on the nose?
I love this one too.
There's a very perfumey. What is that note?
Yes, Scott, tell us your knowledge of perfume. Please continue.
Yeah, I know.
If you're thinking of lavender, I smell it.
I was gonna almost lavender is what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
I know.
You think?
That's what I smell. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I was giving you a hard time, and now I deciphered it myself. I've been to hotels with those lavender sprays on the pillows. I know what a lavender.
Yeah.
I can't say I've sort of smelled the flower, but I smelled the lavender spray. Just
You
like
sleep,
this.
you sleep so good.
Also melatonin. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the most, I think, lack of better words, this is the most beautiful aroma. When we're talking about lavender and stuff, this is, to me, the most impressive. I mean, not to say beautiful is the most impressive, but like it's yeah, it's the most captivating. And I think the one before this was the most classical and therefore nostalgic. But
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Being on the palate on this one.
Okay, first of all, it's so strong. I'm trying to like sit here and be like, oh, I'm just gonna just coat my palate.
Ooh. The spiciness almost comes off. I mean, higher ABV as well. Well, I mean, so the one before was 61.1. We're a little bit lower, 56.7. Feels as hot. I think that's the spiciness.
Yeah.
The peppery here, but still a lot of those nice, rich bourbon notes that we even saw on the one before, the caramels, the brown sugars, dry. It's a little bit more astringent, a little bit drier oak, but peppery.
Mm-hmm.
Little floral note coming through.
Mm-hmm. The rye content, I was just commenting before we tasted it that saying, oh, it's only a small bump in rye. It's very apparent. Like I feel like I'm chewing rye bread. That wasn't my first impression, but after a few seconds, kind of allowing it to sort of coat the palate, you definitely taste the rye. And it's not overly spicy. Like I've had rye whiskeys that are much spicier than this.
Yeah.
This is very, very mellow and approachable. But I mean, maybe feel free to disagree, but I find that this to be more rye than the previous. I find that my impression is just so rooted in the previous two that if I were to taste this off the bat, I might not feel that it's so rye heavy. But relative to the last one, I'm like, oh yeah, now I get it. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not screaming at me, but compared to the last one, yeah, there's more.
I think some of that though is that cast strength version where everything's kind of compressed in there.
You're right.
And so I think as we add water to this one, I think the rye might even start to show itself more as it kind of opens up a little bit. We'll see.
Okay.
Mamuka is saying eucalyptus, pine, and pickle juice.
You talking about a different whiskey, or what is he talking about?
I could almost see that here: eucalyptus and pine and pickle juice.
Oh, okay. Water definitely changes this one.
Ooh, let's see.
Okay, I think your suspicion is spot on.
Yeah,
about the changes that occur with water on this one. What a nerdy thing to say, by the way, man.
I actually think the second one we did, the B7.4, was darker. Was the darkest one?
Yeah, definitely it was. Yeah, the 5-year-old.
Yeah, a year younger than this one, but it really looks like it was.
5 years is a magical age for bourbon.
You think?
I mean, I'm not gonna take that back, but like I also think so is like 10.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've had some great 10-year-old barrels. I'm like, oh my man, things happen. Things happen at 10 years old, you know.
I feel like 10 to 15 is kind of my bourbon sweet spot.
Oh yeah. But
Yeah.
like we were talking earlier, that's become so rare.
Yeah.
You know, these ages of 4 to 6 are more aligned. Like you can get a really good bourbon, single barrel bourbon from 4 to 6 years old from, you know, but man, I agree with you. To the 10 to 15 years, things happen there.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, more of the floral with water. Ooh. Boy, that one's hanging around on the back end of the palate longer now, too. Ooh.
Yeah.
Burnt honeycomb. Rye. Rye bread. I wasn't getting it so much neat, but I am with water. Wow. Ooh.
Here's a tasting note I didn't expect to give. Egg foo young. If anybody likes Chinese food, like there's a I don't know how to unpack those flavors, but that's what's speaking to me. Okay, so all three very different. Mamuka says rye takes water. Good.
Yeah.
Backslash. Yeah. Whiskey Franco says I've been loving rye lately. It's one of the only styles of whiskey that holds up after drinking something peated.
Now I have found myself as well, though. I like a more aged rye.
Mm-hmm.
Younger ryes are really peppery, really spicy, and then just depending on the distillation method as well. So, you know, sometimes that dill pickle note.
Yeah.
But to me, it's kind of like peated whiskey. As a peated whiskey ages, the peat gets mellower. The same happens with rye. As rye whiskey ages, the rye really kind of tones down. And the best one I had was Booker's Rye, which was out a few years ago. Actually, had a bottle of that one, which I enjoyed every drop of. But and I think it was 13 years old. But it tasted like a high rye bourbon because the rye had come down so much in it, you know, over those 13 years. It was just so rich, such a great palate. Yeah.
Okay, this is such a generic predictable comment, but my favorite it's funny, of all the most crazed American whiskey producer out there is Pappy Van Winkle, and my favorite is the Van Winkle rye by far. That's been my favorite. I don't know how long that's aged usually, but
I've never tried it.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, there's a couple of Pappies that I think are the 15-year-old and that rye. I'm like, wow, those two for me, but they're pretty good. Anyway, so the older rye is good. The Whiskey Franco says the Booker's was magic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've had a Booker's rye. I don't know which it was. And it was in Kentucky. Yeah. So
there was only one. There's only been
there was only one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Then it was the one. That's interesting because you were saying it was fantastic. He's saying it's magic. Surprisingly, did one.
Supposedly, it was some hidden barrels that they found that was Booker knows secret rye.
Oh yeah,
run that he did.
I love marketing sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like, come on, give me a break. Give me a break. Oh, we just, like we have such bad like stock management that we've just discovered.
Yeah.
Oh, this bourbon worth, like 6 figures.
What are those barrels? Get rid of those. Get them out of here. Oh wait, there's some rye whiskey in there. Yeah. Oh my God, it's good. Let's bottle it.
Yeah. JT says not much of a rye fan, but I really like Michter's rye.
Yeah, Michter's does some good ryes as well.
Yeah. We have. I was just checking. We have 2 ryes available right now. Does the 30% off apply to rye as well?
Let's see. It's National Bourbon Day, so let's see. To do Society Bourbons, Bourbon Cask. The email only mentions bourbons.
Makes sense.
So,
well, it is National Bourbon Day, not National Rye Day.
Yep, 30% off. So if you go to the website and use the code bourbon, all caps, 2023. You get 30% off of your whole your every bottle of bourbon you have in your cart.
So let's go back on the 3 here. So what are your thoughts?
I've got a little bit left here. I'm gonna nail it here real quick and see. I do like, as I went through.
Keep going.
Let's see what happens here real quick. Let me.
I don't want to overcomplicate the plot, but I realize I have a bottle of this RW 5.1, which is from the same distillery. It's a rye. I'm just going to pour a little bit of this for myself just to kind of understand. This is 95% rye, 5% malted barley. This is also available in the shop right now. Again, it sounds like this might not the sale might not apply, but we're not really doing this for the sale. That was something that was added after we decided to do this tonight. So,
I actually have to go with going back through them, sitting down here tasting through. I did think that the weeded mash bill, the B7.13, was my favorite, but I think the B7.4 actually is just kind of that standard, the normal bourbon mash bill one. And it's a little bit darker than the others. I think it's got some great cask influence and just really brings a lot to the palate of those great bourbon notes that you expect and that you look for. So, wow, all tasty.
I think I agree with you, Scott. I have no qualms, and I just the B7.4 Myriad colors for me was the most impressive cask or barrel. I like the relationship between the spirit and the wood in the 5 years time. I think it was spot on. That's an easy pick. I think it's almost too easy to love. B7.13, the first one we had, the 4-year-old C'est Bon, the French name of the American whiskey bottled in the UK.
Yeah.
I thought was the most unique, one of the more unique bourbons I've ever had. And just because the overall the character, the profile was very different from the typical weeded, and I think that changed for me. That one changed the most with water. So if you, I don't know, if you're at home and you enjoy that, you like pouring whiskey and having different experiences with the addition of water, that's something worth noting. And then the last one I thought was the most elegant. This B7.7 was the most elegant over the high rye bourbon. Was the most elegant overall, a bit floral. We both agree there's like this lavender note, and but it didn't pull it for me. It was good. It didn't do the same as B7.4 and all this. So, I think what you and I both have agreed that like the most classical bourbon, on paper and in flavor, was the most interesting, most enjoyable to us. What does that say about us? Well, we're basically basic bitches. But I mean, other than that, it's the truth. I think it was a very, very impressive barrel. And I just commented it because B7.1, I was tasting before we started this to warm up my palate. Same mash bill, 1 year older. I thought this was much more impressive overall. So that's exciting. What's the oldest bourbon or rye that has ever done?
I've got an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old sitting over here.
Really?
I was thinking we had a 13-year-old.
What's the 12-year-old one?
Let's Bake corn whiskey, CW 1.2.
Oh, but technically, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he does say bourbon or rye, doesn't he? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I know we've had. Let me see. I've got another bourbon sitting over here, a B5, I think. Oh, that's a 14-year-old B5.3 bourbon.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the point of the stream where we now go to the shelves and pull out all sorts of random things. It usually happens. We must not click end of broadcast. We must continue to go back to the collection, no matter how tired Scott might be after his flight from Vegas. Yeah. Anyway, Mamuka says, think about the bourbon. Everybody has different opinions and different taste palette. For sure. For sure. Absolutely is the case. Whiskey Franco says, show and tell time. Yes, it is. Oh, speaking of show and tell, this is my new Darth Vader themed Corksicle canteen.
Ooh.
Which I think Whiskey Franco might appreciate, but very, very subtle. Believe it or not, we're not sponsored by Corksicle. Hashtag not an ad. It's just what I drink water out of. So there you go. That's it. That's all we got. So, Scott, any concluding thoughts beyond that?
No, again, limited sale. This runs through 6/14, so through midnight tomorrow, midnight Pacific time tomorrow. All bourbons on the website, 30% off. Just use the code Bourbon 2023 at checkout, all cap letters. We've got also the 3, or if you buy 3 bottles of anything through Father's Day or the 19th, get 2 SMWS snifter glasses, tasting glasses with your order. So a couple sales, a couple things going on there.
Yeah. That's that.
Yeah.
B7.4. I think that's the one for me, if you had to pick one. Okay. Otherwise, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll be back with, I think, Charlie. You're gonna take a little break, a couple of nights, right?
Yep.
Tuesday right now. So, and on Thursday I'll be back with Charlie, previewing an upcoming whiskey release, which will be exciting. But that's that. Happy National Bourbon Day. Thanks for watching, and drop a comment, give us a thumbs up, do all those things. What do they say? Smash that like button. I hate when YouTubers say that. Smash that like button. Really helps the algorithm, guys. Really just helps out the channel, and obviously. But please do that. All right. Thanks all. Cheers. Scott,
cheers.
End with your closing remarks.
Remember, Scotch Malt Whiskey Society's whiskeys are not for swigging, glugging, or knocking back. Please drink responsibly. Cheers.
Cheers.